Hey everybody, for a project I wanted to try out some ice and snow effects, and for that I never worked with that before, so I wanted to test some products that are out there. First one I wanted to try was the Games Workshop Valhallan Blizzard, it's called, and just first see what it behaves like. So I took out a goop of it and started moving it around. As you can see, it's quite fluffy. It moves around quite easily. You can shape it into different kinds and you can spread it out quite easily. It seems to be a bit easy to break up though. It's not very cohesive. You can shape it quite nicely, play with it, but I don't know how strong it's going to be before it's once it's dry. And I want to make some thin edges as well to see how that works, what it makes. And the second product was Krycell Insta Snow, which is something I found on the internet, which seemed very exciting. And the first thing that I noticed when I opened up the jar was that it's, very thick. I mean, look at that. That's just some ice cream, basically. I don't know if it's been standing around too long, or if that's just part of it, but it needed a good mix-up. So I started mixing it first. Took some time. But after a while I got to do some quite nice consistency, which is really, almost clay-like even. So it moves around very easily and it's very cohesive. It's very solid almost. It's a bit like very liquid green stuff. So you can move it around, you can shape it very easily, as you will see. So here I'm just cleaning up some stuff. And then once I start playing around, you can see that it's a bit like dough, I think. Play-Doh is what it reminds me of. So it's easy to shape. It seems quite wet. It's shiny as well, as you can see. And you can just play around with it. It's very nice. And it's much thinner than the Games Workshop. So the Games Workshop has a bit more volume to it, as I said. And the Crycell is a bit more like dough or clay. So here I'm trying to make some thin edges too, and trying to shape some lumps to have some big fallen snow if you want any of that stuff. And what I also tried is breaking it up again after shaping it to see if the shape that you put into it will stay, because I would expect that it will flow back because it's so wet. I mean, the Games Workshop seems to be stuck in a place where you put it into, so to say, and the Crycell is able to flow back again because it's more liquid than the Games Workshop one. Yeah, so when it's dry, here I'm testing how hard it became, how solid it became, and the Games Workshop is solid enough. The Crycell seems to be a bit more solid, a bit harder. And here, as you can see, the Games Workshop snow breaks quite easily. You can put some dents in it, which might be interesting for footsteps. Same goes for the Krycell snow, but it's harder, basically. And the other interesting thing about the Krycell one is it sparkles a bit like actual snow, as you can see here if you look closely. I don't know if the camera allows it, but there's a bit of a sparkle to it. And then I thought, why should I combine them? Because I like the volume of the Games Workshop snow, but the sparkle and the color of the Krycell snow. So let's see what happens if you put them together. So here on the right I'm trying to put the Krycell snow on top of the Games Workshop snow. See what happens. I'm trying to make a thin layer. And then on the other side I'm trying some Games Workshop snow on top of the Crycell, which to me was a bit more promising, because then you can get the volume of the Games Workshop snow with still the sparkle maybe of the Krycell. Because the Krycell snow is much smoother than the Games Workshop one. And I thought it would be nice because the color is slightly different between the Games Workshop. Games Workshop seems to be really white snow, while the Crycell is a bit more yellowish, beige maybe, I don't know. Yeah, so here I'm moving it around a bit more. That's it. Let's let it dry. Well, now that it's dry, let's see what it looked like. Yeah, as I expected, I like the result on the left better than the result on the right. The result on the right is a bit of a mixed patch, while the left seems to be one total. Now I took out an old model that I had lying around, and well, let's try it out on an actual model and see if we can make it work. So from the previous test, I decided to go on the base of Krycell snow, and then in the end add some Games Workshop snow on top of it. So I just put the Krycell snow on various patches throughout the model, just pushing it around. It's very nice to work with. It's nice stuff. And I also try to make some smaller and bigger patches on the model. So here's some smaller patches next to the edge, and a bigger patch to the decapitated head. This is a model that I made a long time ago, which is one of the first Space Marines where I really repositioned the legs. It was a fun project, but it was quite hard, because I cut off the feet, the lower legs and the upper legs, and repositioned everything because he's standing on top of a Chaos Space Marine helmet, which he apparently just decapitated. And I removed the knee on the right leg and replaced that with a tilt shield from the Terminators. I liked how it turned out, but it's very old. I think it's almost 10 years old, probably. Yeah, so playing around a bit more, and then once it's dry, I took out the Games Workshop snow, added that on top. So I did it both on the patches which were already with the Crycell, but also on some of the patches where there's nothing. I based the miniature just with some sand and some flock and a couple of small stones, and I wanted to make it look like freshly fallen snow, which is already early in the year where the grass is still green, but then the white snow falls on top of it, which makes a really nice color contrast. That was my plan here, so that you can still see some brown earth and some green grass and lots of snow. That's also what I want to go for on the team where I'm testing this for. That's the idea, at least. So here I'm working in the Games Workshop snow a bit more. Almost finished. Clean up my tool, and then it's done. Let it dry. And Krycell also has a different product, which is snow and ice wash, and that was really exciting to me because it's a bit like a Games Workshop technical, like what's it called, the rust, where there's particles in there. So it's not really paint, but it's like colored water, I don't know, ink with particles in there. So this is the same snow that they put in the Krycell snow, but then much more diluted. And you need to shake it a lot before you can do something with it. And here I'm trying to apply it in the same way as you would with the typhus corrosion, it's called. Very awesome wash, by the way. So I took a really old beaten brush and just started applying it everywhere on the model, and a bit on the base as well, working around toward the edges. And this taught me that I need to look up how snow builds up and ice. I mean, if you look it up, it seems to represent both fresh snow, but also ice that works up on top of the surface. The wash, I mean. So Here I'm just putting it kind of in random places, near the edges of plates, and a bit near in the nooks and crannies as well. But to make it look realistic, that's gonna take a bit of study, I guess. I'm putting it on the base as well, on the stones, and on the helmet on the bottom. So I need to practice a bit on where actually the ice and the snow needs to go on a model, because I really want to put it on the team as well, but I'm not sure. At the moment, I'm not really sure how to apply it best. But this was, as I said, it was a test model just to see how the paint behaves and what it does. Because when it's still wet, it's very hard to see how much you're actually putting on top of it. It's really like a wash that seems to be very clear when it's wet. When it dries, it becomes much more opaque. Here it's dry, and now you can see this is the same layer that I put just on, and you can see that this is already quite heavy on the effects. So I think I'll need to dilute it. But just to see how it works, I also tried the second layer. So I took up some more and started working on the model again, on all the different parts. And again, I was just thinking, okay, where would the snow buildup be the most? So I worked on the edges again the most, and the nooks and crannies. Yeah, just going around. Alright, that's it. Second layer is on, and as I said, it's still wet, so right now you cannot really see how much it actually added to it. But right now it seems fine. But then once we let it dry, there it is. Ooh, yeah, it's a bit heavy. Looks cool though. But the effect is a bit, it kind of spoils the effect a bit. Because it's too heavy and it starts looking like fake snow instead of actual real snow. Yeah, so the camera was off. Let's put it in front of a... wait! Gotta do more. As I said, I'm testing this. Let's see how heavy we can get. And first I'm washing the base. Because the Games Workshop snow doesn't sparkle. But the Krycell snow does sparkle. So I thought, what if I put some snow wash over the Games Workshop snow? And see if I can get that sparkle back. And I was curious to see what the snow wash would do over flock and basing without snow. If it would make it look like frozen ground, frozen earth, which I think would be a nice look. Doing it everywhere, and then I added some more to the miniature as well. There we go. You can see up that I'm using a really old beaten up brush, because these effect paints, because they have particles in there, they will mess up your brushes pretty good. So don't use your nicest brush with this. Your brush will not like it, basically. Yeah, that's it. So all the wash is done. Cleaning up some stuff. Oh, no, add some water, do some more. I had a face. A little bit more on the legs, of course. Because he's plowing through the snow. And that's it. And at this point it's still wet. Kind of inspecting to see what it looks like right now. And then that's it. So let's see what it looks like when it's dry. Well, this is what my very first snow miniature. So I enjoy doing this. I'm not very convinced with how it turned out, but as I said, it was a testing miniature, so I really wanted to know how the ground effect snow would work and how the wash would work. So that was mainly it. So what I've learned is don't use the wash too many times. I'll probably dilute it when I start working with it actually. There's also, so I bought a kit from Krycell. There's also some powder snow, and I'm also really curious to see how that will turn out, because that should be looking like really snowfall yeah, we'll see. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.